Welcome to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. Money on Tap is where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do on this show. We look at all sides of the issues and bring a fully independent planning perspective to the table. My name is Seth Cressman, and I'm joined here once again with John Ryder, Ben Brayshaw, and Eric Morton. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Seth.
Good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear you, too. It's glad that everybody just likes to grab the mic simultaneously. Jump in.
Yeah.
Get excited. All right. Well, we're gonna be talking about stuff. All right. We'll leave it at that.
That's good. We're talking about stuff today. All right. Good.
Lots of stuff.
Before we talk about stuff, you can reach us at 855-226-8551. That's 226-8551. Or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us at Facebook, 3D Investing, or Twitter at BFG_LLC. So let's have a little bit of fun today, guys, with this topic because, you know, as much as we love to just talk about anything and turn it into something fun, this one's going to be very special for all of us.
So, Seth, let me start this one off. Okay, so as many of you know in our listening audience, my dad was a boat builder, built sailboats for a living, and we call them custom yachts. They're anywhere between 23 feet long and 56 feet long. You know, very fancy. However, in today's article that we're reading, this is not your grandfather's boat. So these guys...
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
There, John, we forgot to say something.
What's that?
You know what that is? It's time for Money in the News.
Absolutely, and now is that time. So, Dubai International Boat Show 2019 is the biggest event of its kind in the industry. Here's what they're selling. So they have these boats there. They're yachts.
These aren't boats, folks.
They might be 345 feet long. They might be 250 feet long. But this is for people... billionaires that are buying their toys. And Ben, you were noticing something that was pretty interesting.
No. This is like for the poor billionaire. Like if you can't afford your island, you build one that floats.
Yeah, yeah. So these boats are designed. So one of these boats has on it 500 square meters. Figure that out real quickly for feet.
Convert that for me now, please.
Yes, convert. 500 square meters is designed ultimately just for the toys that go on the boat. So
where's a Canadian when you need one?
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, you have on there helicopters, jet skis, all kinds of things.
The helicopter looks like a fly on this thing.
No, it is unbelievable. So one of these boats here is designed, it kind of hangs off the coast of Chile there for people that are doing heli-skiing adventures. And so
I just want the boat that's sitting on top of the boat.
Yeah.
Like there's a boat in the boat.
You can have it for a mere.
It's like a Russian nesting doll yacht. It just keeps bringing out smaller boats.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Seth. Here's the base. Now here are some other things to go along with it.
First of all,
this looks like Airwolf of the Seas.
It does look like Airwolf.
I don't know if you follow me on that, but
I do.
That's what I've dubbed this, the
Wow.
Airwolf.
Wow, you just Gen X'd us.
So here's the company that says this. Ocean Coast says there's convertible space for laboratories, suggesting the vessel could be utilized by marine biologists. In the company brochure, he also says it's ideal for couples or friends who want to take a gap year from their everyday routine. So, guys, if we're looking for just a little bit of a break, maybe next year or the following year, maybe the place to go is to get our own yacht.
For everyone listening, if we go off the air for a year, we all went on our gap year on this boat.
Let's do it together.
Hey,
Let's do the show from the yacht.
They have these crazy cruising ranges.
Are you saying that like I can Airbnb this or I can Turo?
You may be.
Is that what I can do? I can just go online and book this thing out for a year.
Yeah, I don't know if that's possible or not, but these things. This here's a boat, the Esquel. It has a cruising range of 7,000 nautical miles. It can take its crew roughly a third of the circumference of the world before needing to make port.
This boat looks like it belongs in a James Bond movie.
Oh, it does. Yes.
You know what?
Yes.
I mean, I can't even I couldn't even wake up, dream about a boat, and say I would want all these features. That's how far out of the grasp of humankind this thing is. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, to even think that, to be saying, you know what, I need to get a boat and this is the one I need.
I think we're into this crazy age where we read about, the kind of the middle class vanishing, and you talk about, poverty obviously being a huge issue, but then you talk about these guys that just have more money than they possibly know what to do with. Seth, I was just talking to you earlier about an article in the Wall Street Journal that was talking about the founder of GoDaddy went out and purchased a $300,000 set of, yes, golf clubs. I didn't say of cars, a $300,000 set of golf clubs. This is a company out of Arizona. I think it's called PXG. And basically, they have people that fly into their facility there on their private jets, and then they get the limo ride into their company. And at the company, they actually measure for golf clubs. And this guy said that the president of the company said that people will come in, they'll actually go ahead and get measured. They'll go ahead and buy 4 sets of clubs. They don't even ask what the price is, and then they leave. And the price is between $50,000 and $70,000 per set of golf clubs. Maybe people want them for their place in Hawaii. They want them for their place out in Colorado, for their place on the East Coast, and I don't know. It's an amazing.
The funny part of this story is he still can't beat his high school best friend. Good luck, buddy. Sorry about that.
With the clubs, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of money for no strokes.
I think we joke around about all this stuff, and as we're looking at this stuff that's so ridiculously out of reach, and our world, it buries us with this materialistic perspective of, you go into even a movie theater and they have commercials of all the things you should have, right? Yeah. The new truck, the new car, the whatever computer, or this, whatever it is. And it's like we are burdened with this kind of obligation to continue to, get the gulp size, drink.
And what are our kids seeing? I mean, we're seeing it, but what are our kids seeing? They're seeing all that too, so.
I mean, going back to, black and white TVs and stuff like that. I mean, the concept of marketing has completely changed the way we see things. And, honestly, there's a reason why a lot of people are frustrated. And a lot of listeners who are, saying, you know what, I'm struggling trying to pay my bills. I need to put enough away for retirement. I have kids going to college. I just want to, be able to pay my bills or get out of debt. And we talk about these ridiculous things. And the thing is I think we talk about them just to acknowledge the fact that, you have to see sometimes the super ridiculous to realize that we don't need all these things in life. And none of these things are going to make us happy,
Good perspective. Yeah, I appreciate that. So I really want that yacht. And make some
Seth, can I come? Can I come if you get it?
That's my retirement plan.
Guys, I'm really excited to talk about the show today. And this is kind of a strange show in the sense that we want to talk about a topic that may not be very exciting for you, but nonetheless, it's a topic that's really important for most of our clients, and not all, but most folks that we're talking to. And the name of today's show is called The Power of Life Insurance. And now you might say, okay, so life insurance, what a boring type of thing to talk about. Why would you want to talk about life insurance? And let me tell you this. The life insurance that we're going to talk about today is exciting for us because what it does, what it provides for people that need help when things are at the worst.
You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We're going to take a quick break and be back with the power of life insurance at Money on Tap.
Hi, my name is Seth Crustman, partner with Brayshaw Financial Group and one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. One of the biggest concerns and largest expenses people face today is taxes. Without thoughtful planning, taxes can destroy future retirement dollars, eliminating the possibility of a timely retirement or dreams of what you want retirement to look like. If you're like most people, you're getting closer and closer to retirement, and you may be wondering if you're taking the right steps. Will my income be enough? Will rising taxes force me to give up my dreams? How does inflation factor into all of this? These are real concerns, and you're not alone. Putting a plan around your financial future is what we do. If you have questions when it comes to your financial security, and if you're looking for a personalized solution, contact us at Brayshaw Financial Group, 855-226-8551. It's time for you to start getting answers to your questions. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, Brayshaw Financial has offices across the country. We'd love the opportunity to show you how we can help. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to meet with us. Call us at 855-226-8551. 855-226-8551.
More Money on Tap in just a moment. When you retire, will you have enough money to go the distance? Should you plan 20, 30, or even more years of retirement? On this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, Ben Brayshaw and John Ryder carefully consider this very question.
You know, the average expected length of retirement by an investor is 22 years.
See, when I hear that 22 years, I think, wow, is that low?
Yeah, I do too.
We don't want people running out of money when they're 87.
Yeah, I mean, we have to plan past life expectancy because if we get Seth's wife's grandfather, you know, as a client, and he's 95, and we've planned for
no signs of slowing down either.
Wow, that's
right.
great.
I mean, that's a real concern.
So investors out there feel like 22 years is what they plan for on average, and we as advisors plan on around 30.
I mean, I always think we got to make sure we're getting well into the 90s.
Into 100. Isn't that typically what we're looking at? About 100 years old.
And stability with inflation, all those things. And then usually we come to an agreement, like what's your longevity? What's your family history?
Sure.
And usually we add 5-10% to that.
For prudent planning. So there's different products out there that are designed to help with that.
See, this is the thing people don't understand. In an advisor, in our role, we have to fulfill essentially an almost unlimited or unpredictable time period. Like it could be 2 years and, oh, wonderful, you could have spent a lot more money, or it could be 40 years and we spent way too much money too soon. We don't have the ability to see that crystal ball. People can say, I only need 20 years of retirement, and they do their own planning and this, that, and the other thing. We have so much obligation to do right by people and to make sure that they're cared for properly.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Now here's more Money on Tap with Seth, Ben, and John.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. Hey, we can be reached at 855-226-8551 or at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Oh, wait, there's more. Facebook /3D investing, or even at BFG_LLC. But you know what? I want to talk about something really near and dear to my heart. I'm going to bring it down just a second here, folks. Podcasting. We have a podcast.
Never heard of it.
It's called Money on Tap, Eric.
Thanks.
And
where can I find it? Where can I find it, though?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because, no, seriously, you can find us at Stitcher, iTunes. There's somewhere else after that. There's lots of places.
Wherever
I'm going to just start Googling really quickly right here. But if you listen to podcasts, folks, you can find us at your favorite podcast venue or explore podcast venues, because it's a lot of fun. And download us, like us, subscribe. That's kind of the next step in your podcast journey if you haven't joined us there yet. But right now, we are going to give Ben a minute.
No, I was just going to say we actually had someone come in the office who found us off of podcasts, which was not the traditional way. People usually hear us on the radio, but actually discovered us randomly on podcasts.
Yes.
And I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think, the conversation of the no judgment zone, I mean, the fact that people can just come in and get an opinion and just, evaluate things and look at things is important for people to realize. And I think the podcast piece is a developmental area that, if you are listening, like us, tell people about us, write something about it, whatever, just so that it gets more awareness for people in the community. I think it's good.
I think it was probably the crystal clear picture that is now showing up on Money on Tap. That is very attractive to folks when they're searching for podcasts.
Explain that, Eric. Explain that.
Well, when you're scrolling through all the podcasts to listen to, and someone has a photo that just jumps out at you, the logo, the color scheme, the just all of those things together is why you listen sometimes.
For those of you that are unfamiliar with that voice, that is Eric Morton, driving not only our property and casualty department here at Brayshaw Financial Group, but also the bus that just ran me over for not having the correct artwork on our podcast. That's Eric Morton, folks.
That is not your job, Seth. Your job is to prepare folks to retire.
Thank you. Well, appreciate that. Hey, you know what, John? This is a really good opportunity for you just to kind of take the mic away from the rest of us.
All right.
John's biting on the...
Everyone else on mute. I'm talking. No, we as financial advisors have a lot of people who really like to talk about investing. And, we're right there with you. We love it. We've been investing our own personal money for years and other people's money for many years as well, too. But one thing that's always interesting about talking with people is that they're just fascinated by investing. They'll talk about this stock or that stock. I know, Ben, you have people calling you up saying, hey, listen, I have this great idea, and, what do you think? And it's very, very funny just how it works. So
I have people calling me with the riskiest scenarios out there, and then you say, hey, maybe you should just put your money in the bank. Oh, I don't know. Some of the questions we sometimes hear, just like you guys always hear, if you're at some party or whatever, some people say, so, hey, what do you do for work? And I guess we all have different answers when it comes to that. Ben, I always laugh whenever I'm with you at a party or something, and someone will say to you, hey, so, Ben, what do you do? And Ben always will kind of give this nonchalant answer like, oh, I work in financial services, like whatever that means. I mean, here we are on the East Coast. I work in financial services. And then, but sometimes when people find out that you're a financial advisor, people like to talk shop. They tell us about the stock they bought. They tell us about how much they made in their 401k because of this fund or that fund. You guys must have run into that before, right, Ben? I mean, you've had that happen a time or two. Oh, yeah. I usually do play it down because it usually ends up being a conversation of, oh, I own this fund inside my 401k or my 403b, and I bought this stock, and what do you think about that? Do you think the market's going up or down? And it's like, I'm not looking to
engage on that. Yeah, I'm here at a party to relax, not to talk about the market and not to talk about.
But that's not you. I mean, it's funny because most financial people are. But yeah, no, I think there's a lot of people have a lot of questions out there, and they don't get a lot of communication back.
Hey, Ben, Seth, let me ask you a question. Seth, so if you're at a party and you want to make someone run, what do you start talking about?
Usually about what I do for a living. It's like there's two. I think there's a couple of jobs or professions out there where you get this reaction too, where I think one is pastor. Like that's just a conversation stopper right there.
It's
like people
my brother-in-law says that. You're right. People don't
you're drinking your beer.
Yeah.
People, oh, that's great to meet you, and I don't want to talk to God right now. And they turn.
I know. A pastor friend of mine this last weekend was sharing experience getting on getting on an airplane, and he was actually over in New England. Father, daughter sit down, checking out colleges, and start up a conversation, and they're like, "Well, what do you do for a living?" And he's like, "Well, I'm a pastor." And the dad goes, "That's great. She's an atheist."
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's interesting. But I actually know the answer, John.
So, what is the answer, Eric? If you want to make someone run away from you,
I know the answer. I was like, "Ooh, pick me, John, pick me." The answer is, if you want someone to go away from you at a party, you ask them if they have enough life insurance.
Yeah, that's what do it right away. Yeah,
Bill Murray in the Groundhog Day with the guy who's always trying to sell insurance on the street. Do you guys remember that?
Phil.
Yes.
I'm meaning to talk to you, Phil.
All right, John, back to your topic. Let's go, John.
Right.
Come on.
So I guess what I'm saying is I think we can all relate to the brother-in-law who we see every year at Thanksgiving or a summer party who just got licensed, and he is telling everyone, including you, that you need to buy life insurance through him. So the name of our show today, it's called The Power of Life Insurance. And in a little bit, we're going to talk about life insurance, the power of it, and why you shouldn't be ignoring the fact that you need to make sure you have some coverage in place. And so we're going to be talking about that today. But let me just tell you, sometimes when you think about a show about life insurance, you think, wow, that's depressing. Why in the world are we talking about that? But I think what we've seen, and we're going to talk a lot about our own experiences when it comes to life insurance, because I think we as advisors see it, especially if we've been around for a while. We see what life insurance has done for people and how it has helped people tremendously. And I know when I first got in this business, I had this very negative thought about talking to people about life insurance because I thought, and this was even the first few years, because I thought, the chances of someone passing away, very, very small. But one thing that we've been seeing in our practice, and we've been at this for quite a while, is the fact that we have, over time, just starting to see that these life insurances are paying off. And Ben, this year alone, we have, just in our offices here in New Hampshire, we have, I think, 5 or 6 folks that have passed away in just the first 2 or 3 months here of the year. We've had a lot of that. So there is a power to it, and we're going to talk about that power. Again, no one likes to talk about it. It's not an exciting topic, but...
Well, I think, I think power is the right word. I think one of the things that is lost when it comes to the insurance world is that it's an easy license to get. So somebody gets an insurance license, and then all of a sudden they start selling everything they can because they're trying to receive a commission. And what's lost inside that communication is really the substantial opportunity that you have. And it's not just a death benefit. I mean, life insurance extends so much further past life, kind of the idea that if I die, my family gets something. That's kind of like almost secondary now in life insurance with some of the opportunities that exist inside of it, because it's become this multi-purpose tool. I've used the term Swiss Army knife in the past, and we've talked about this. But I think when I first got in the business too, I had no interest in talking about insurance at all.
No.
I was...
Yeah, you're 22 years old. Just
I was a stockbroker who had a life insurance. I was like, I don't talk about life insurance. That's not what I do. It's just a part of the obligation of being licensed in this industry. But as I matured in the industry, I realized that I wasn't really providing, some of the tools that were available to people because of the stigma that comes with the concept of insurance.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy, right?
You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But the truth is that, when you do it right and you do it well, it is an unbelievable opportunity to solve a bunch of problems, and not just if you die.
Absolutely. And Eric, I want to bring you into the conversation a little bit here too.
Don't bring him in.
Thanks, John.
But insurances are a huge part of really what we do, because we can do a great job of helping people build portfolios. We can do a great job of helping them really gain in their portfolios and really build fantastic portfolios for retirement income later on. But the problem is, if you have a huge loss, that can be a big problem. Eric, talk a little just about that and kind of what you do in your practice to help people when we're talking about huge losses, catastrophic losses. It could be life, could be property,
Yeah, well, the biggest piece to this is if something unexpected happens and you can't rebound from it, then you can't get back on your retirement plan. You can't continue. So basically everything just folds in, and you end up in this emergency situation that you didn't plan for. So whether that be through property casualty insurance, which is, of course, auto, home, business, commercial, umbrella, these are things that you need to have in place that take care of that to make sure you're still meeting all of your financial goals. But life insurance is a huge piece of that, whether it be term or something that's the Swiss Army knife that can help you through multiple scenarios.
Eric, I was thinking about you this weekend. I heard we had
I love that.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Well, we had, very sadly, a fatal accident at Cannon Mountain, which is a large ski mountain out near us here up in northern New Hampshire. And this guy was skiing down, and he was moving, really fast, no helmet on. And he ended up coming down this Black Diamond Hill, and he ended up crashing, going underneath a ski barrier, then coming down 10 feet down on the other side of a lift there. He ended up hitting this guy, who was actually an Allstate agent, believe it or not. But the guy that he hit is okay. He's going to be okay. He had some very serious injuries, but he ended up, the skier that was out of control, ended up dying. And so these things can be just crazy things, but you think about, there's so many different insurance things involved just in that one little incident that happened there. There's obviously a guy that passed away. I'm sure this was not an intentional thing where he's skiing down the mountain crazily, didn't know what was going to happen. But there's a lost life there. Then you have a guy who actually, an Allstate agent, who actually gets hit and is very, very seriously injured. So having insurances in place can make tremendous differences. One, for the skier that got killed, for his family, taking care of them, but then for this other guy who also could use some coverage as well, because you never know really what's around the corner. And I think that's one of the biggest things what life insurance does, what property casualty insurance does. You don't know what's around the corner. So having some coverage in place can make a lot of difference in your life.
Hey, speaking of what's around the corner, let's go ahead and segue that into, we're going to take a quick break at Money on Tap. We are talking about the power of life insurance. And we're going to get back into, I think, some of the stories that surround this tool in our toolkit that, frankly, not a whole lot of people enjoy talking about. We get that. John kind of highlighted and touched on that. But we are still actually, we've got some fantastic success stories I can't wait to share with you guys of how life insurance can really be a meaningful part of your future and planning for your future. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We're going to take a quick break. Thanks for joining us at Money on Tap.
On this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, John Ryder introduces an interesting story about a lawsuit that wraps up with an incredible outcome.
Ex-Chipotle manager accused of stealing $626 given an $8 million settlement for wrongful termination. New York Daily News reports that this manager, her name was Jeanette Ortiz, she was accused of stealing $626 in cash out of a cash register from the safe of a Fresno, California Chipotle Mexican grill. She was very quickly fired for this blatant thievery and justice was served. Right? Well, not quite. While her superiors maintained that the act was caught on tape, they failed to provide this purported surveillance footage and claimed it was destroyed. Frankly, claiming your main piece of evidence was eradicated isn't exactly the best legal argument in a courtroom. They accused her of something, they couldn't prove it, and now she is going to be retired for the rest of her life with no worries in the world at all.
Honestly, this is what's like bizarre about our legal system or wrong about our legal system. It's like, did she really steal it? And then she got $8 million. It's like, this is what the problem is with our system. We're encouraging more people to create more lawsuits. It's like the cup of coffee. Everyone knows the cup of coffee that's built on the person at McDonald's and they won millions. It's supposed to try to make you whole. No one ever is whole from anything, and so to overcompensate or only exacerbates the problem we have in our legal system.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Now here's more Money on Tap with Seth, Ben, and John.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. Money on Tap's where we bring out the professionals, experience, and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Also, podcast listeners, thank you. We appreciate the downloads, the likes, the subscriptions. If you're new to podcasting or if you're listening to us via radio, check out a podcast. We got lots of episodes back there, out there, back and out and up and somewhere in between. Anyways, hey, we're talking about life insurance, the power of life insurance. Bringing it back is John Ryder.
You know what? Insurance can be confusing, and it's hard to know what you really need or what you really want. There's always someone out there selling something, but I think there are some very good reasons, and we're just going to highlight 5 of the reasons that people typically will go ahead and buy life insurance. Ben, I don't know if you wanted to start off with the first one about your family and loved ones. Pretty much the basic reason why do you have life insurance? Yeah,
I mean, that's number one. I mean, protecting your family and having something for them and making sure that they're cared for upon your death. That's probably what people think. Life insurance, well, I don't need that much. I just need enough just in case something crazy happens.
Yeah, and I think of it like this. If you're making $75,000 a year and that's the only income in your house and you pass away, well, your income's you're not going to work anymore, and so that income's not going to continue. So life insurance is a great way of saying, hey, here's money that will help take care of that income. It could be for a little while. It could be for a long while. This depends upon how much you have.
I mean, we've had people come in, John, kind of where the husband works and the wife doesn't, and they have kids and stuff like that, and they shun on life insurance. Waste of money.
Yeah, it is interesting. Some people will say, you know what, I have some through work. So they might have maybe one time through their work or two times through their work. But, okay, so figure you might
that's
be able
one
to have
time.
one
That's like
time's
one
your
time.
salary. Yeah. So if they're making
2 times
$75,000,
salary.
they might have maybe $75,000 or maybe $150,000 of coverage, and that's pretty much it. But think about how fast you'd go through that if you didn't have that income coming in. So that's really something that's important. And a second reason why sometimes people want to have insurance is the fact that they want to leave an inheritance to someone. And we've seen that often, guys, where some people say, you know what, hey, I really want to make sure. In fact, we were just working on a plan the other day, Ben, where we had the clients really wanted to make sure that they left really a legacy, and they want to do that through financial means. And the cheapest way to do that is life insurance.
Yeah.
Also, the kind of the calculations that we're typically looking at, and I think these are all places that people have joined the life insurance conversation along the way. Like you as listeners, when we say life insurance, these are things that you're automatically probably going to and saying, they're going to talk about this, right? They're going to talk about, hey, there's a death benefit, leave an inheritance. We're going to pay off debts, right?
Sure, that's another
because
big
we've
one,
got the mortgage, right? That's out there. We've got some other things, expenses, so we don't want to leave a loved one with a boatload of debt on their table. Adding more financial security.
Yeah, I want to take care of my kids' college education. If I pass away, I know that we have $30,000, $40,000 a year that we got to pay for 2 or 3 kids. That really ups the amount of life insurance when you talk about that.
How many times do we have the conversation that usually a couple sitting with us talking about this says, I feel better. That peace of mind, right? That's one of the things that they're looking for.
I think that's the biggest one if you think about it overall, right? Just the peace of mind. I guess, when we see people with peace of mind, it's wonderful. But the problem is so many times we see people that don't have peace of mind. And I know you guys have all been at a restaurant where there's a fishbowl there and there's some kind of charity benefit or a charity dance or something like that because there's someone that lost their life. It might have been maybe the owner of the restaurant or maybe an employee of the restaurant. They had no insurance. They have 3 kids and they're trying to do a fundraiser, some kind of charity pasta dinner.
Yeah, happens all the time.
And okay, so you raise $12,000 or $15,000 and then where do you go from there? That's hardly enough to put someone on the ground these days.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, life insurance is, the peace of mind, the concept of all the pieces that are surround that. Someone said to me one time that, you buy things out of need or greed. And either you feel like, hey, I really need to take care of this or deal with this. That's more where life insurance comes in when people come and buy it, I think. Because it's not a greed purchase. It's a need purchase. And either you perceive that you need it or you don't.
Gotcha. And the peace of mind that you touched on there, John, is sometimes not immediate because they just don't see it. They never put themselves in that position where, this could potentially happen. But the peace of mind when someone has the foresight to put it in place early on in life, and then something tragic happens, or even if it doesn't fully happen, but that person no longer medically qualifies or financially can't afford that policy anymore, they're just so thankful that they had the foresight to have it then. So that peace of mind may come down the road when things are trying and difficult. It may not be that day when they can't put themselves in that place.
And I think many times when people buy insurance, and really what I'd like to do is spend the next part of our time here together telling some stories and talking about some scenarios where life insurance has made a big difference for people. And I'm just going to start it off here with a situation with a client of mine that several years ago bought a life insurance policy. It wasn't a large one. There wasn't a lot of debt associated with the client and all. But he just decided, hey, I want to have some life insurance in place. Very healthy guy, 50 years old, and he bought some life insurance and bought $250,000 of life insurance and didn't have any kids, just a wife, and they both worked. But anyway, he ended up getting Lou Gehrig's disease. About a year after that he bought the insurance. He had only paid in, less than $500 into the policy, and he ends up getting Lou Gehrig's disease. And within a very short amount of time, just about 3 months, We were scrambling to help his wife, who's also a friend of mine as well, to go ahead and get a handicap van and do some different things because he was going downhill fast. But before he even had time for the van to be delivered, he passed away. And having that money there for her, obviously this was a time that was an extremely difficult time for her, but having that money available, because here's what happens when someone passes away, and I think we all have experienced this in one form or another. No one is bringing checks to the house. Everyone is bringing what? They're bringing bills. Bills for this, bills for that.
I was going to say food. That's
well, sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. That's true.
Sign me up. That's where I stay in food, folks. Yeah. That's where I live.
but the true fact is, when things go south and someone passes away, I can tell you that life spins out of control. The person that survived, they're not going back to work right away. They're like figuring and scrambling, how in the world are we going to make things work? How in the world are we going to make it by? And having life insurance, we have a lump sum that pays you can have these death benefits pay in 2 weeks. It's amazing how quickly it happens. And so that to me was just a really a neat story of how that works. Ben, I know you've had some along the way, and I'll come back to some of mine later on. But that was
I had one person who bought almost $1 million policy. The person had an ample amount of money, and no one knew that they had that much money, and but in the end their goal was to provide a benefit to a number of heirs, a large number of heirs. So they leveraged income out of their assets to buy life insurance to leave money to everyone, which I thought was. They just said, you know what? I could leave a little bit to everybody, or we could take this and multiply it through life insurance. And that was the inheritance side. I thought that was like, you don't see that every day, but they're like, the money's not doing anything else, and I don't need it. So that was interesting. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. I think, though, when we start really talking about the power of life insurance, is just in the provision of something.
Yeah, what it provides for people. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about one major aspect. And I'll tell you, when life insurance pays out, no one's more thankful to have it than the person who receives that benefit. Because
absolutely.
It is never, and honestly, I've never had anyone say, boy, they really left me too much money.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. Ben, I want to we'll shortly get into some different features and policy types of life insurance you can buy. I'm thinking of a story that I had, and again, you guys cut in with stories if you have them, but I'm thinking of a story of a family that I was working with years ago. This is back when I first got into the business, and I kept on talking to them about life insurance. And I talked to them, they'd come in, they both worked, they're a young couple. They had 2 kids and a young couple. They're both working at Ford Motor Company. Decent jobs. They did very well, but they also had a lifestyle that did pretty well too. No, they weren't buying super yachts, that kind of thing, but they had decent jobs and decent 401ks, and they were putting money away. And they had 1 times their salary through work, so that was good to have. But every time I talked to them about getting just a little bit of additional coverage for taking care of things like college education and stuff down the road, they kind of said, no, that's not interesting to us. We really want to talk about the 401k. I talked to them about the next year they came back for their review. I talked about the next year for the review. Really no interest until the following year, where they said, you know what, I think we probably should get this coverage in place. And we just put a simple term type of coverage in form. It was $350,000 for each one of them. I get a phone call a few months later after they had been underwritten and approved for their policies, where the husband got sick, had a brain tumor, and died about 9 months after the policy was written. And that story, to me, just really, I guess, convicted me of the fact that I need to make sure that we bring this back to the table. You never know what's going on. You never know what's going on with people. And when we're talking with people about insurances, you're only getting the insurance if you're healthy. So obviously, if the guy had a brain tumor, there's no insurance company that's looking at him. But there was a guy who had everything in front of him. And he thought, you're invincible, you're young, you're 28 years old, you don't need insurance. But the fact is, he died at 31. Yeah. And you never expect those things to happen, but boy, when you have, I guess it makes you feel good about what you do when those things happen. It's a terrible situation, but just knowing that the client had a lot more than they would have had if you hadn't talked to them.
I mean, you just don't even know. I mean, you have no idea what's going to happen. And I think, I'm just thinking about a young gentleman. I didn't. I knew him personally, but they weren't clients or anything.
Yeah.
But he recently passed away from cancer, and I don't know what the scenario was financially, but these diseases and things that we are susceptible to, they don't account for how old you are or what your family lifestyle is or your scenario, your wealth, your lack of it just. Some of these things they just come in and they just take you.
Yeah, and it can happen very quickly. But, I thought maybe we'd just shift the topic just a little bit, because a lot of times we think about life insurance and we think, okay, so if I pass away, I have life insurance, great. But you know what? There are different features of life insurance products that we're using every day now. And Ben, when we first got in the business, they didn't have all these different types of coverages now, but they have different ones that will help if there's so for instance, if someone gets diagnosed with cancer, and if they have the right kind of coverage on that kind of policy, they can actually get an accelerated death benefit, meaning that if their cancer says, hey, listen, within 2 years, you're going to pass away, you can actually get an accelerated death benefit. They'll pay out 70 or 80%, depending upon what company, out in advance so that people can actually get extra treatment if they need it. They can it doesn't matter what it is, they can use those dollars ahead of time before they pass away. With their family, maybe go on a trip to Disney. Maybe they have the opportunity to do that now because of those funds. And so it's really a powerful thing. Ben, there's another type called critical and chronic. How does that work?
Yeah. I didn't know if you were going to talk about any other things on the accelerated side of that.
Oh.
But, so the critical and chronic, basically critical illness. When it comes to the life insurance piece, that's one benefit. But you can basically say, hey, I'm willing to forfeit that and just say I want some other benefit instead because I've become ill. I have a critical illness like ALS or MS or whatever these various companies actually insure. Some of these diseases that we're all even Parkinson's for some companies is covered, or I'm going into a long-term care facility and I don't need life insurance. I need to protect my assets from a long-term care claim. That's where I need to spend my value of my life insurance purchase, and This is a tremendously useful tool because I think when we talk to people, right, Seth, that it's almost like an unending amount of expenses that people see in their mind. Like, I've got to buy life insurance. I got to buy long-term care insurance. I got to buy all these things.
Yeah, the cost of a long-term care event is insurmountable to most people based off of where the majority of us are in our income, in our savings, in our accumulation. And the timing of an event like that can be catastrophic. And I think one of the things that's insurance in the world of insurance that we've experienced is them identifying that there's a need and a way that they can use life insurance to do that. I mean, it's the differences between all these different kinds of insurances and the tool that can be applied for the purpose of protection is changed. Like from what I came in thinking about, I need to get my insurance license because I'm a financial planner, and it was not the first thing that I wanted to run out and do and start to have the conversation about, to what these life insurance policies can cover to help people through catastrophic care events, really. And it can be in the form of term insurance. It doesn't have to be a long-term care policy, which typically was an extraordinarily expensive kind of insurance. So there's different ways to get coverage depending on where you are and what you're doing at something that's probably within budget, more so than you might even think.
Yeah, and I think when you actually say, I'm going to dump this life insurance, I don't need a death benefit anymore. I've got this other catastrophe in my life that I want to financially leverage it for. That accessibility is a phenomenal piece, and something that makes the concept of the cost of life insurance and long-term care, it diminishes the cost because you're not buying two things anymore. You're buying one that you're going to choose which solution you use it for.
Yeah, they call it a hybrid policy. Yeah,
I wanted to jump in on that, gentlemen. In my experience with running a State Farm agency for 5 years, we were one of the last companies to offer a long-term care policy. And early January 2018, they actually discontinued that as well, leaving, I believe, only 3 that are left that have just that single focus long-term care. And I was thinking to myself, wow, these policies were sometimes $600-700 a month to carry, and these same folks were also buying a term life and just bundling those things together in the wrong way without talking to someone who could have got them into an instrument that would handle not only those 2 things, but 4 or 5 other options as well, with a much lower premium that's building value as it goes along. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about all the kind of the sad sides of these things.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like, I don't want to talk about it. I had a client recently who husband and wife got approved for long-term care, and then after they got approved, I discovered that I think he has some mental health struggles. I don't know if it's dementia or whatever.
Something there, yeah.
But they still didn't want to buy it, even after they were approved. And I had a conversation with the wife, and I just said, this is going to bankrupt you. I said, and I'm not saying this as a scare tactic, and they've been clients for many years. I said, it's going to bankrupt you because he's healthy as a horse. Like, he has nothing physically wrong with him.
Something cognitive
But the cognitive side of this thing that she then acknowledged, it's been going on for a while. I don't know how he got approved. I had no idea about it. But this instant discovery, I was like, you have no choice but to buy this. And she said, you know what? The cost of all of this just makes me sad. She emotionally couldn't get over the purchase of it because it involved kind of an acknowledgement of end of life or end of their life together in some way.
And I think what you were facing was, Ben, you were thinking, I am sad because the cost that I see coming down the road for you is going to be much greater than the cost of what this policy will be.
Right. And I tell people all the time, you don't buy these things. Like if you're buying it today, and let's say you're the wife and you're younger, which is traditionally the case, and women outlive husbands and stuff, you don't buy it for yourself to go traditionally to the Ritz-Carlton version of a long-term care facility. You buy this to protect the wife potentially you're leaving behind, so that it doesn't take all the money that she would normally be left with caring for you. People don't realize that because at end of life, you're not talking about bills. You're not talking about those things. And you love someone so much, you're going to spend every penny on it.
The other thing I wanted to mention is a lot of folks, they think long-term care and long-term care facilities, and it's not just the case. You don't have to go to these expensive spots in your city. You can use some of these funds to help take care of that person in your home where they're comfortable. It's just you have more options available when you have the money. You've got the control. It's not going directly to a specific facility that approves of these policies or whatever down the road. And changes can come in.
I was sharing that with her on that scenario, and I said to her, I said, listen, don't buy this to get him into a facility. I said, buy this so you can stay home with him longer.
Yeah, improve your quality of life.
This is actually an empowerment for you to have a better quality of life over the years ahead versus a lesser, which is probably what she's doomed to have. Is less time with him, less quality.
I think quality of life here is really what it boils down to. Ben, I remember after I was working with you for about a year or so, you had a client of yours, or maybe an advisor you're working with, who had bought a policy, a life insurance policy, and he had I think it was a heart attack or a stroke that he had. And it was a pretty fascinating story because oftentimes we think of life insurance, okay, so you buy the traditional life insurance policy, you have a terrible heart attack, and guess what? Well, hasn't passed away, and there's no benefit to pay. But this was a totally different story. This is a story.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
this is a pretty powerful story.
Yeah, so he had bought this policy. He was retiring early. He was in his late 50s. And almost 3 years later, he had been paying premiums for 3 years, had a massive heart attack. And the life insurance company, he applied to get the acceleration of that death benefit today and forfeit the policy. And they gave him 73%, if I remember correctly, of his death benefit as a lump sum check. just for the heart attack. They rated the heart attack. Now, he survived, and basically, his health insurance deemed him to have recovered as far as he could, and his wife has used those funds to help him get special care and treatment to advance his. She said he's still improving. He needs more time. He needs more help, and she's used those funds, and they've come a long way. I forgot about that, John.
Sometimes you think about a situation like that where he retired because he wanted to and he could retire early. Normally, let's say that something happened to his portfolio where he just lost half of his money. Well, normally what he would do is he'd say, well, you know what, hey, and we've had this happen before where people say, you know what, I need to go back to work again. They might take a part-time job. Maybe things are a little tight, and so they get a part-time job. But if you're sick and you have a heart attack or that type of thing, you're not going back for a part-time job.
One thing too, if you're listening today and you have somebody who's struggling with something like that, they may have a life insurance policy that has that opportunity or that acceleration potentially built into it that may be something that no one has ever considered. And, that might be an option for you or your family or a loved one that you know. I think one last item on the power of life insurance, I think I'm going to hand it over to Seth because he's acknowledging. Go ahead, Seth.
Hey, thanks a lot. I wanted to share a story too. Okay, this is it's not funny, but Ben's laughing at me because I love to jump in and do this last minute. My turn. So, hey, I have a really good friend actually that passed away this last Thanksgiving, and it was a heart attack, and they found him, in his car, and he has a young family, wife, 2 kids. And one of the things that I keep coming back to, and it's a very pure, simple part of what the life insurance tool can do, and that is that as of now, his wife's okay.
Yeah.
His 2 children, young children, like 13 and 10, they're okay. They're not kicked out of their house. As a matter of fact, when I talk to his wife, they're looking to buy a new house. The kids' education, it's okay. Those opportunities haven't been robbed from them because of his early departure from this planet. And that's a very simple, to the point part that sometimes people don't understand. We talk about all these other places, and it's just, I want to bring it back to that. Like, that's a first step. If you are a young family, if you have obligations to people other than yourself to care for them, and if you do care about those people, this is one of those first steps that I think people really have to understand, and how important, how critical it is, as much as it's not the topic that they want to have brought to the kitchen table.
And that right there, Seth, is the power of life insurance and what it can do for you. Nothing else can do that, but life insurance can certainly provide a benefit that can help in a tremendous time of need. So we're all grateful for that story and just for sharing that with us today, too. So thank you.
Yeah. So, I guess the last piece of that and is just is the opportunity for life insurance to become a retirement asset. A lot of people don't look at life insurance that way. It's something I've done personally, and it's something where you can actually create that has developed inside these programs as well. And I think what people say is, how can I use life insurance in my situation? I don't think there's a way you can't use life insurance almost in your situation. Because you know what? You're either going to have a health issue, you're going to die, or you're going to need income. And those are the pieces that really drive the power of life insurance, and being able to be that multifaceted tool that we have yet to give the real value that the movies seem to discredit it from. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Seth. Thank you.
Hey, you guys, thanks a lot for listening today. The topic, again, was the power of life insurance. This may not be something that you're thinking of right now, and you might have somebody in your life that you care about, that this is a conversation that just needs to happen. Hopefully, the adventure through this podcast or this radio show for you today was good. We want it to be entertaining. We want it to be something that's not just about the pain of life or something along those lines, but we also want to identify that that's a true scenario for everybody. And when we're talking about these things, it's important to understand that. So if you're listening today and you haven't reached out to us at 855-226-8551 or emailed us at info@yourmoneyontap.com, we look forward to talking to you. We look forward to bringing you into the office or having that conversation over Skype or a phone call. A lot of our clients work with us that way as well across the country. And we're looking forward to having that conversation with you as well. You can reach us again at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. You've been listening to Money on Tap.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.